So we haven't been keeping up with Yang much, mostly because he hasn't been doing basically anything with his life. After he ran for president, lost, ran for governor of New York, lost, and it seems like he did all of that with a total of half of a single policy position fleshed out. It seemed like he didn't really have any other policies besides UBI. He was like the UBI guy, and he said like it worked out because math, and that was like basically it. And he's gonna bring the country together. After that happened, Andrew Yang kind of like fell out of the limelight, but it seems like he wasn't done yet because the entrepreneur, former progressive capitalist masquerading as the working man's candidate decided to come back with something quite interesting that he'd been working on for a long time, okay? And it seems like that is the Forward Party. The fundamental, real, actual Forward Party has dropped. Made by Andrew Yang. Let me open this up for you, okay? Take a look at this. Continue to the site. Man. I feel the same, Biden. I feel the same. Look at this Forward Party moving forward after years of working in parallel to unite America and strengthen our democracy. The Forward Party, the Renew America movement, and the Serve America movement are pleased to announce the formal merger of our three organizations into one giga party, the Forward Party, and they move forward. What do? Forward. How do they do it? Forward. If you ever wondered, they ain't left. They ain't right. They're forward, and they're doing things in a forward way, not backwards, all right? And sure ain't perpendicular nor diagonal. They know their directions. He's a math guy after all. And I hope everybody has graduated from geometry, because you're going to need it for the way Yang has twisted himself into a pretzel to justify the existence of this party in any way, shape, or form. So I was actually kind of curious about what the Forward Party has to say about anything. And it seems like we're still going to have to wonder what they feel about in regards to anything, because it seems like even Yang may not necessarily know what he's fighting for. He's made a couple of sus tweets. Here's one that got deleted. 8 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck, but what does paycheck to paycheck even mean? Nobody knows. Bringing people together from working poor to billionaires to figure out the best question facing our country. So true. Yeah, I think about it all the time. Man, those billionaires, they really want to make sure that those working poor people get the most money possible, because that's exactly what billionaires are for, right? Especially if they're CEOs and CFOs of companies. They always think, man, how much more money can I give my workers? That's exactly what billionaires think, right? I'm so glad that we could finally sit at the table and figure out how do we fix this issue? You know, I can imagine the billionaire at the table now. People, and then those crazy lefties do something like, oh, you're bad because you're billionaire. And the billionaire is like, bro, calm down. We're all trying to figure out who got us into this mess in the first place. I'm so glad Yang's doing something positive for this country. That on top of the fact that something he tweeted out today, because he tweets, I think, like 20 times a day. It is quite wild how much this man tweets. The truth is that neither party really needs to worry about delivering much of anything. The primary message is that the other party is unacceptable, which is, I mean, perfectly fine. That's true in some regard. That's how you get this. Support for third party ideology. 73%, 66%, and then, okay. Supporting more parties, I mean, that's fine. I also support more parties. I think that's good. That's fine. We stay falsely divided by the media into two camps. Where have you heard that before? We clash and nothing gets done, but a new dynamic emerges. Real change is possible. Like I said, I hope you guys pass geometry, because this is important. All right, partisan. Toolbox. Forwardists, because apparently he made up an entirely new term. Triangle. Ooh. And is it just a third party? Do you support like more than like a parliamentary sort of system where there's multiple parties working together? Or does he just support his party being the only party that gets in besides the other ones? So he's a third positionist? Yeah, it's quite awkward how that works out, isn't it? 3 angles go forward. It's true. It's true. The 3 angles do go many forward. Many people are saying this. It's all correct. Oh no. Illuminati? Curious. The triangular? Many people are saying this. Also, it's completely false that we are falsely divided. We are truly divided. We literally live in different realities. Trump and his cult all believe that the election was stolen, and so they had to do something by overrunning the Capitol. But everybody who overran the Capitol were actually not real Trump supporters. And if they were, then they did the right thing. But if they didn't, it's to make Republicans look bad, because they wouldn't do that, even though they do want to do it. So there's that. Yeah, they're on their Christian fascism arc. They're on their Christian nationalism arc. They're on their white supremacist arc with the great replacement meme that they've been convincing each other really exists, and that white people are the true oppressed minority in this country, or something along those lines. We'll talk about it later. But even the anti-Semites and the Trump supporters have really started to get into it. Anyways, what Andrew Yang has been saying has been almost completely incoherent. The big thing is that he won't reply to anyone saying, wait, I'm sorry. I just saw this meme. What? Get out of there. You can't see that. You can't see that. You can't see what goes on in there. Thank you. Listen, he's trying his best, okay? The forbidden folder. It's just my screenshots to be deleted folder. It's for screenshots and pictures that I take that need to be deleted. It's not about this or this or this. So this is, you know what? I didn't even think about this meme, but you know what? This completely conceptualizes what we're going to be looking at here in a moment, because Andrew Yang decided that he's going to answer some questions, or I guess in his mind, attempt to, because he went on with Jim Acosta, all right? A reporter for CNN, and to have like a medium form sit down interview about his political positions and or lack thereof about literally anything going on in the country. And let me tell you, this doesn't go well for him. This doesn't go well for him at all. But to see how bad it gets, I want to figure it out. So let's take a look.
And let me ask you about your new Forward Party, because you say it's an attempt to appeal to what you say is the moderate, common sense majority. It's also the same name as your book. Is this an attempt to pump up book sales?
Holy Acosta, going out with the hard-hitting questions up front. Oh, geez. Well, you know what type of interview this is going to be. And you know what? These are my favorite type of interviews when it comes to politicians. It's my favorite. And here's the thing. Common sense here makes almost literally no sense. Common sense is only a marketing tactic when it comes to political views, all right? Everybody likes to use the word common sense because they want to make it seem like their political philosophy requires no brain power to understand. And for some people, especially when it comes to the conservatives, it doesn't require any brain power to understand. But with that being said, Andrew Yang falls for the typical trap when he sees people say that they would like a third party, and when he sees people who are non-party affiliated, he thinks that means that they're moderate, when that's not true. Most of the people who are not politically affiliated are not like people who are in the middle. They're people typically to the left of the Democratic Party, like myself. But he doesn't really think about that. It's not beneficial to him. Anyways.
Well, I'd have to say this would be a pretty silly way to go about it, given that we have co-founded a national party that now has tens of thousands of Americans signed up, co-chaired by former governor of New Jersey, Christine Todd Whitman. And the fact is 62% of Americans
But are you
want
just promoting yourself? I guess what I'm asking is, are you just out there promoting yourself with this?
Again, Jim, there are, as you can easily imagine, there are hundreds of better ways to go about promoting a book than starting a political party to do so. I mean, I'm building this party because 62% of Americans want it. We're more polarized than ever. And the fact is the two parties have divvied up the country so that 79 to 90% of races are uncompetitive. Most of the people watching this right now aren't even living under a two-party system. They're living under one party.
Yo, listen. For some people who were here earlier in the stream, and for definitely not the YouTube frogs, we saw some people who were living under a two-party sister, you know? When we saw Crunchyroll, I saw some people who were living under a two-party sister, and you know what? They were paying good money for it. Anyways, I'm sorry. I thought that this was a butt plug up here. It may just be me. I'm a little childish. I am. I'll admit it. I thought it was a butt plug. I'm sorry. I'm like, man, that's a crazy bookend he's got over there. Anyways, and I can see, I can't blame you, right? Like, look at it. I think it's a little eagle or an owl or something. But yeah, his face he looks a little concerned about this one. He knows this isn't gonna be great. Hey, listen, he's got more time to speak than he did during his entire 2020 presidential campaign. So he should be happy about that.
The other week, I asked veteran Democratic strategist James Carville about what he thought of
Carville.
the Forward Party, and he had quite a strong reaction. Let's listen to that.
So if you don't know Carville's a mummy from the dead Democrat era. Basically, he hates Bernie Sanders. He loves Joe Biden. He actually doesn't understand why Joe Biden has a bad approval rating at the moment. He thinks that Donald Trump is some crazy anomaly of the Republican Party, and that all we need to do is get the common sense Republicans to vote along with us, and everything's going to be okay. He has no clue what's going on. He's completely bought into the entire Democratic corporate establishment, and he makes a lot of money from it. He's the reason why. Just so you know, if you remember back in the Obama days where Obama lost 1,000 seats during his presidency across the entire country, Carville was one of the strategists behind that. So good job, bud.
I think in a nation awash in really stupid ideas, this stands out as a really stupid idea. Ralph Nader basically elected George W. Bush in 2000. Jill Stein basically elected Donald Trump in 2016. And
oh yeah, I forgot. He's a Hillary cultist. Hillary can do no wrong. He's one of those, Hillary was right about everything except for the fact that she could win the presidency. But it's not her fault. Simply not campaigning in the Rust Belt for the entire general election. And that's not the reason why she lost the Rust Belt. It was Jill Stein and the 12 voters she got across the entire country. It's their fault, not her fault. She could do no wrong, dude. She's so good. She's such a good politician. Actually, she should run again. Carville, everyone.
Only possible thing this could do is bleed some moderate Republicans off of voting for whoever the Democratic nominee is. This thing is going nowhere. It's vanity. It's look at me. It's performance art.
What's your response to that, Andrew? Is this, hey, look at me?
Oh, well, even his description jumps straight to the presidential race, which is not where our focus is at all. Our focus is on the 506,000 locally elected officials, school board members, city council members, mayors, county executives, because again, in the majority of the country, 70% of these races are uncompetitive or uncontested. The American people want real choice. We want to provide it
people obviously
to them
worry.
in their towns and communities and where
those
they
lower
live.
level races are obviously important, but people worry about another 2016 scenario where a third party candidate like Jill Stein or Gary Johnson costs Hillary Clinton the election. Don't you think that putting yourself out there, putting this party out there as an alternative that appeals to some moderate Republicans, could potentially throw the race to Donald Trump, put Donald Trump back in the White House? Is that what you want?
Okay, so just so you know, I'm not taking either side. I just like watching these two buffoons bash each other over the head. That's just me, personally. So if you're wondering if I was taking Jim Acosta's side, the answer is no. I think he does ask some interesting questions, but this is not one of them, all right? Andrew Yang, why do you want to drink Trump's cum? Can you answer that question for us? Yeah, it's just like two rich corporatists ooga booga bonking each other while normal Americans starve, and that's basically it, right? That's what we're watching right now. Both of them are completely detached from what normal Americans think. Both of them are completely detached from what your average person goes through, and both of them are completely detached about what's going on in this country. I mean, listen, when you sit on an ivory pedestal for so long, you kind of forget what it's like down in the trenches of being a normal person. With that being said, Acosta's also in the same boat as Carville, that saying that Bernie's mere attempt at providing any sort of competition whatsoever to any politician who's a Democrat is somehow evil and wrong because primaries don't exist, I guess. Also that Stein and Gary Johnson both cost Hillary the election, even though once again she didn't campaign in the Rust Belt at all, and she's genuinely disliked. Isn't she one of the most disliked politicians in the entire country? Isn't that true? She's like pretty disliked. A lot of people don't like her. Like a lot. They just hate her, really. Hillary sucks. Yeah, she was just a bad candidate. She was, and it's her fault that she lost and nobody else's. But obviously, I don't think Yang knows enough about this to be able to provide a real response, which is pretty funny, I have to say, for trying to be like a political party.
I'm the co-chair of an anti-extremist party. I ran against Trump. So I don't plan on doing anything that's going to increase Trump's odds. But again, 62% of Americans want a third party. And we are looking right now at a competitive U.S. Senate race as one example, where you have an independent, Evan McMullin, running neck and neck with a Trump-endorsed incumbent in an environment
the Democratic Party in Utah.
Wait a second, Edmund McMullin? The guy who made the Binding of Isaac is running against a Trump-endorsed candidate? Man, that's crazy. What the heck? When did that happen? Man, that's so cool. What a guy. Hey, he really is doing things out there.
The Democratic Party out in Utah got behind Evan McMullin. Andrew, why not run again as a Democrat? If you want to be president, run again as a Democrat.
Do not come.
So, Jim, I haven't made any conclusions about 2024 except for the fact that the United States needs a unifying, positive third-party movement because we're getting increasingly polarized. And if it's not Trump, it's going to be a successor to Trump because this system is uniquely vulnerable to authoritarianism. You have a two-party system.
But I can hear the folks over at the White House. President Biden has had.
So once again, if you guys want to know, the real answer to this is that it's the same reason for why there are parliamentary systems all around the world that are working perfectly fine. The reason is because the two-party system both allow themselves to work. Democrats and Republicans are both happy with the two-party system because at one point in time, they're going to lose power, and then people are going to be like, I don't like these guys, and they'll get the next, and they'll ride the wave to get it again. Red wave, blue wave, red wave, blue wave. They just pass the baton back and forth to each other. Because at the end of the day, what you'll know is that even if somebody has the baton for a while, you'll always get it back. You'll always get it back. There's only two of you, all right? When one party screws up, you'll know you'll get it back. It's very easy to rest on your laurels when that's the case and to take people for granted. And you can even point to Hillary Clinton for somebody who took it for granted. If he was going to talk about how Hillary Clinton, once again, didn't campaign in the Rust Belt in 2016, but he's not going to mention that. I don't even know if he knows that, if I'm going to be completely honest, which is incredibly wild. That seemed like an incredible case for a third party to happen. But these parties focus on different things, and building a coalition inside and outside of a party can be incredibly beneficial to be able to get things done and to work across party lines to make sure that other things are actually done. If there's another voter block of people for even let's say like the climate bill and the Inflation Reduction Act that just passed, if there are other groups of people who were even outside of the party, like a Green Party that were working, whose main goal is not to follow the Republicans and whose main goal is to their constituents and to their party, a completely different goal. And without the pressure of the DNC, without the pressure of party dues, without the pressure of like anything along those lines, it's possible. It's possible to do that. We see, we can caucus at the moment. Caucuses exist. There's no reason that a caucus can't exist outside of a certain political party. There's no reason for that. And I think it's nice for people to have more choices besides people who are beholden to the same party. I think variety is good. But I'm not sure if he's gonna, he can't answer that. He seems completely incapable of answering a question besides, well, lots of people want a third party. Actually, like if the two-party duopoly is pretty bad. Actually, there's lots of moderates. It's just, he has like 3 lines and it's just pull the cord. There's a snake in my boot. And that's like all he's got. It's really not charming, I have to say.
Just need a better system.
But President Biden, I can hear Democrats over at the White House saying President Biden has had Republican support on a number of agenda items. He is trying to work in a bipartisan fashion. Why not try to support that as a Democrat? You were just a Democrat 10 minutes ago.
I support attempts to cross the aisle, but we can all see that 7 out of 10 of the Republicans that bravely voted to impeach Trump are already going to be out of Congress by the time January comes along, and the moderate population in both parties is unfortunately dwindling quickly. So the political incentives end up disproportionately empowering the 10% of extremes on both sides.
But you're going to have to come up with policy
really
positions.
Negative results.
Right,
we
but
just
Andrew,
need a better system.
Yeah, but Andrew,
pull the cord. We need a better system. This system that we have is bad. Do you know that moderates exist? I wish everyone was more moderate. Did you know that we have Republicans that support us? We need a better system. Come on, man. Can you tell me anything about anything, please? I'm begging you. Is he okay? Maybe he's been sitting on the fence for so long that he cut off blood circulation to his ass because he's just shitting himself all over on CNN. And I got to tell you, this does not look good to your average person.
you're going to have policy positions at some point. How does the Forward Party feel about Roe versus Wade? Should it have been overturned?
Well, I personally think that women's reproductive rights are fundamental human rights. But the Forward Party has not left or right, but forward stance on.
Good Lord, he said it. He said it, boys. Roll credits. He did it. It's like when the main character says the name of the show in the show. Hey, he did it. I love it. I love it when we know left and we also know right, but we forward. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing.
Contentious issues.
Well, what does that mean? Don't you have to take a position on something? Don't you have to take a position on something? You can't just say, well, this is a hot button issue, so I'm not going to take a position on it. You know, if you want to run the country, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, Andrew.
Again, the Forward Party is about that common sense consensus majority view, which is very clear on abortion. It's clear.
What about guns? What
is it?
Assault?
See, the very interesting thing is that he keeps saying that everybody knows what this is and it's common sense, and then he asks him what it is, and he goes, "Well, everybody knows." Well, what is it? It's we know. Come on, no. Yeah, no. It's literally just his political party is trust me, bro.
On climate change, it's actually clear on just about every issue under the sun.
Should 18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Because of the nature of our system.
Should 18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Again, the common sense consensus majority is that there should be some rules around background checks and access to firearms, but we're not getting any of these things, Jim, because
that doesn't answer the question. Is that a no? Because I'm not gonna lie to you. Is that a yes? Because I'm not gonna lie to you. That seems like a politician way of saying yes. If you ask, do you believe that 18-year-olds should be able to buy AR-15s? And you go, well, people believe that there should be some restrictions, I guess. Like that sounds like a yes, but I'd stop short there. If I'm gonna be honest, we need some clown music.
Two-party system does not need to deliver.
But it doesn't sound like you're taking any hard positions. It sounds like you're
trade power.
It sounds like you're sort of a fill-in-the-blank party. If somebody wants a party with no clear policy positions, you're it. But unfortunately, in the real world, you have to take a position on something.
Well, we're for the common sense consensus view on guns, abortion, climate change, but we're not getting a common sense consensus
what are those positions?
On any of those things, Jim. And Americans
are just sort of fuzzy,
why.
But those are fuzzy, nebulous. It sounds like you came up with something in a focus group. Common sense, middle of the ground. That sounds wonderful. That sounds great. But at the end of the day, don't you have to take a position on something?
Well, the great thing is the American people know where we want the country to go. And what we know that we need a more dynamic, truly representative system than we're getting right now, which is why the Forward Party is growing so quickly. Tens of thousands of Americans have signed up in all 50 states because we know that the two-party system is getting worse, not better, and we know we need something new.
And who is going to be bankrolling?
So, Andrew Yang, when do you start to have policy positions on anything? That's the funny part. You don't. That's the neat part. You never do. Just keep saying the corporate-made focus group buzzwords, and hopefully somebody will be bamboozled enough into voting for you. We can only pray at this point.
The Forward Party. Will you pledge to be very upfront and candid and transparent about where your money comes from?
No.
Yeah, it's transparent for all to see. And the people that are bankrolling us are everyday Americans who are sending $10, $20, $30 because there's such an enormous appetite for change.
One of the things I tell people... Any corporate money coming in? Outside money?
Again,
foreign money?
It's completely transparent for all to see, but I can say that our money has not been coming in from corporations. It's been coming in from everyday Americans who want something better for us and our families.
You'll pledge to put that on a website, or if a news organization comes to you and says, we'd like to see this information, will you pledge to make that information available?
Well, Jim, I'm going to actually tell you, we don't have a choice. Like, we have to file every 3 months, so anyone who wants to see it can just check it out.
And finally...
Okay, sure. Here's the thing. It's kind of easy to hide like where PAC money comes and goes from. Dark money is a real thing. That is real. You can hide donors. It is absolutely possible. We know about this. There's even a term for it, right? Super PAC money can be easy to manipulate where it actually goes, and obviously over time people have gotten better at it. And so instead of like working exactly with the party, they just work for the party's goals, but in a roundabout way, so they don't have to give off any donors for where the money comes from. So they can just, when it comes to the public standpoint, move money under the table without you knowing exactly where stuff's going, because they can be for you and for your party, but there's no reason, but they're not directly donating to you or directly supporting you, so you don't have to reveal that. So you can work like, it's imagine like corporate what's it called? I forgot exactly what it's called. When a dark Brandon shadow army paid with dark money. What's it called when oh, I forgot the word. I'm sorry. I'm a little fuzzy brain today. When like corporations work together to like fix prices and stuff like that, like a Standard Oil and Carnegie Steel and shit like that did it. Trust. Yeah, thank you. It's like trust. So basically it's like a political trust where you just work, you as a political party, which is a company, you work with a real company and you say, hey, do this, that, and the third for us, and we'll do what you want because you're helping us out. But no money specifically goes for, hey, we're giving this money to this person for that reason. So that doesn't happen. So it's easy to hide where money's coming and going from. And his like wishy-washy answer on here does indeed worry me.
I guess, you know, it would be good to be able to get a clear answer from you on Donald Trump. What is more important to you, to see a forward party candidate become president of the United States, or to make sure that Donald Trump stays out of the White House? Let me put the question this way. If you were a forward party candidate, let's say in 2024, and you are running the risk of drawing voters away from the Democratic Party candidate in a way that would put Trump back in the White House, would you pull back to avoid that situation from happening?
Well, Jim, the truth is that you could resolve this particular issue very, very straightforwardly by adopting something called ranked choice voting, which would enable people to vote for anyone they want. And then if their number one choice doesn't win, then their second choice would get their vote. But the truth is that neither Democrats nor Republicans really want to solve for what you're calling the spoiler effect, because they're more about limiting the choices of the American people rather than opening it up. Our goal is a system that allows Americans to vote for whomever they want and not be, frankly, scared of, quote unquote, wasting their vote or spoiling it for someone else.
He didn't answer the question.
You don't see the forward party as a potential spoiler that could result in Donald Trump being reelected or put back in the White House?
Again, our focus is on local races, including some very exciting congressional races this November, where we think there's a lot on the line. I'd urge people to check out Evan McMullin's U.S. Senate campaign in Utah that I'm supporting personally. Lisa Murkowski in Alaska is a very principled leader who also voted to impeach Trump, who's on the...
He's supporting Lisa Murkowski? That dumb bitch who said that Kavanaugh wouldn't vote to overturn Roe v. Wade? But hey, remember earlier in this, he said that, oh, I believe women should have the right to choose abortions. That's why I support anti-abortionist Lisa Murkowski, who made sure that Roe v. Wade got overturned. I love being a third party here. You ever think about how interesting it is that a lot of these sort of centrist-y moderate people always just end up helping out the conservatives and the Republicans? It's weird how that works out, isn't it?
Ballot. Her primary competitor is a Trump endorsed election denier. So I think that there's a lot on the line right here in November, and that's where our focus is.
And that's it. He didn't even answer that last question. Just to make sure that you were keeping up, that question was not answered. Whether or not he would pull back. I think the answer is no. for one. I also believe it's a false dichotomy. I do not believe that his party would be pulling enough people from the Democratic Party for anything to happen. I'm going to say that I just don't think it's I just don't think it's possible, really. I just don't believe that he would have enough support to be able to do that. So he could just dodge it by saying I highly doubt that we'll be able to do that. And also knowing anything about the history of it seems such like an easy thing to understand and to be able to, like, if you're working on a third party, why in the world would you not work on a quick measured response to you being a spoiler candidate? Instead of you saying that didn't happen in 2016, the spoiler candidate like theory didn't happen in 2016 and it wouldn't happen in 2024 either. Why do you just go, well, if it did happen and but I wouldn't really care, but I think that we should like do a good thing instead. Why can't you just be, I don't know, maybe it is just the way to promote his book and for him to make some more money. He's just weird, dog. He's a weirdo. I don't like him. He seems slimy and greasy to me. I really don't like it. And the big thing is, if you guys don't remember, because some of you all don't remember this because he didn't like speak too much during 2020, but if you dug into like what his like actual policy position was on like the UBI thing, his UBI thing was a Trojan horse to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. That's what the point of his UBI thing was, right? And a lot of like old Yang heads will try and tell you that that's not true and try and tell you that you're just a pro Bernie hater or whatever. That's the real reason why he was pushing what he was pushing, because mind you can look back at his old policy position. What he said specifically is that, remember, it wasn't just you get $1,000. It was an either or. Remember that? It was an either or. You either get Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, or you get $1,000 a month. It wasn't like if you're on Social Security, you also can look forward to getting an extra $1,000 a month to make sure that your stuff's paid for. No. It was an either or. And the thing was to make sure that to push as many people possible to convince them to take the $1,000 a month. And so when you asked him about, and he was feeling honest when you asked him about the payment mechanism for being able to pay for those $1,000 a month, instead of just saying we print our own money, we can just pay for it, it'll be fine, and it's been proven that inflation would not catch up to the amount of money people would be getting. Instead of saying that, he would be like, well, people wouldn't be using Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid as much anymore. And so you know what that means? We'll be able to cut money from that and we'll be able to put it towards $1,000 a month. It's actually genuinely disgusting. It is incredibly underhanded. He is, remember, he is just a capitalist tech bro guy who's pretending like he's like middle of the road or for what everybody believes, when in actuality what he is he's helping out conservatives and he's pushing for things to like reduce Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security by putting forward an alternative that even actually when you did the numbers, it found out that some families would actually make less money. That would be making less money on his system if you take into account the amount of money that they would be getting or the amount of services that they would be getting from Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They'd be a family of two, and many times a family of two, especially if they were retired, would be getting less money a month on Andrew Yang's proposed plan for a UBI than they would be under our current system. But he doesn't care. Well, actually, my bad. He does care. I'm sorry. I didn't want to say he doesn't care. I know he cares. He wants to reduce that money. He doesn't want people to get Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He wants them to switch to something else. All right? Do not be fooled by this man anymore. Do not be tricked or bamboozled into believing that he's some sort of like progressive alternative. Same with Tulsi. All right, who spends her time capping for Republicans these days. Same way that Andrew Yang does, supporting people like Lisa Murkowski in not even a crazy red state like Alaska, that if a good enough Democratic candidate can get in, could actually beat a moderate Republican. Instead of that, he's just supporting the Republicans full fold because he wants to keep them in. He wants to keep them in because he thinks they're part of the plan. They're not part of the plan. In a civilized society, my goal is much different than Andrew Yang's goal, and this is why I'll never be voting for his party. My short-term goal simply is the complete and utter destruction of the Republican Party and putting it into a place where it will never be able to get another candidate in office at any point in time, at any level of government, period. That is my like number one goal short time for this country, because not only will that benefit the country, it'll benefit the planet. The planet will be in a better place once Republicans are not allowed to exist. You know, and even people who disagree when it comes to, oh, who's worse, or on the fence, or like, all the parties are the same. You know, they're rotting my brain. All parties are the same. Even the people who are like that, you are out of your mind if you believe that we'd be in a similar position or a worse position than we are at this very moment in time if Republicans did not exist. Mind you, the best things that happened, let me remind you, the best things that happened in this country, period, that the Republicans are fighting tooth and nail to overcome, happened when the Republicans had no representation in Congress to do basically whatever they wanted. Remember the whole 40-year rule for Democrats after the Great Depression that they caused with their dumbass laissez-faire pro-capitalism garbage that sent people into like Hoovervilles and into like destitute poverty, and the suicide rate skyrocketed? Remember that? The 40-year rule that happened. What happened then? The world became a better place. America became a better place. The world became a better place when Republicans are not allowed to have any power whatsoever. This is well known. This is well documented. The country does worse, period, when conservatives are allowed to have office. They should not be allowed. Honestly, maybe even their party should be illegal. I'll even like step on that and say we may even do a segment of me advocating that the Republicans should honestly be an illegal party. They should not be allowed to run. They should be like viewed as like the Nazi party, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. They're ridiculous. They're insane. And they're only getting crazier, okay? And if you want to know like how bad they really are, like here. What? Here. All right. If you're watching on YouTube, check out our conservative family values segment. Okay. Who was here for our conservative family values segment? You remember that? I remember the conservative family values segment. I remember it. It's hard for me I did all the research for it. It's hard for me to forget. We're going to be doing another one sometime soon. If you want to know how bad these people are. I'm not just some wacky lefty who hates people who don't believe everything that I do. Okay. There are some people who are registered under Republicans who are perfectly fine human beings. But when the Republican Party sends her people, she's not sending their best. They're child abusers. They're criminals. They're sexist. They're racist. They're Nazis. And we need to build a big wall around our country to keep a lot of them out. I'm sorry. We need to have a better vetting process for these absolute... I need to be careful with my language. For these people, we should not allow them to control the type of power that they are able to these days. The country does better when conservatives honestly don't really exist. And so the best thing possible is to make sure to purge them from every level of political office as possible. And here's the thing, okay? And this isn't like I want them to suffer. I don't want them to suffer. Not at all. Some of the people who suffer the most from racism right after the people who are, hate crimed are those rural Republicans and those conservatives and rural people and poor people who subscribe to conservative ideology. Those are the ones who are fixated on like a new taco truck popping up in their neighborhood while the Republicans run out the back with all their cash and money and their children's futures. Okay. I don't want them to be harmed. Not at all. Because you know what, partner? When the revolution comes, and you may have heard this before. Stop me if you heard it before. When the revolution comes, partner, my political enemies will not only get the wall, they'll get 3 more. And a clean floor and a roof. They'll get ventilation. They'll get universal pre-K for their children. They'll get food that's clean and safe and healthy. They'll get walkable and bikeable neighborhoods to live in and grow up in. They'll get free healthcare that includes teeth and eyes. They'll get clean water. Okay, they're the country that cares about them. We'll make sure that they won't fall through the cracks of our social safety net. They'll get like free high-speed internet, okay? That's what I want for my political enemies, all right? That's what I want for them. And you know what? Sometimes you know what's better for them than they do. And so that's why I want to take power from them, to make their lives better. I'm sorry. They may not like it. I don't really care. What they are going to like is that their lives are going to be substantially, materially, and spiritually better. And Yang isn't helping out with that at all.